Hey guys, Travis here at Dutter's Dirt Bikes. So I got the day off work today. That's why I'm still in my Grease Monkey shirt. Rebuild my buddy Dylan's bike. So it's got some pretty good wear on it. So I figured to make a good video of some key signs of what to look for on engine wear. And I'll probably take the cylinder and the head down to my buddy Joe at CCS and have him double check it. Okay, so here's the top end. It's all taken apart. So I'll start with the head. And then you got your steel camshafts rotating. Now this one you can definitely see, and I can unfortunately feel it quite a bit with my fingernail, as well as the top cap. So those are some signs to look for. Again, a little bit of lines is okay, but this is rather excessive. So that's what to look for on there. Moving on to the cylinder. So things you want to look for is, so on 4-stroke and 2-stroke cylinders, they will have cross hatches. You can kind of see little, almost like X's that are in there. So you want to see those. That's what controls your oil shed. And unfortunately on this one, you can kind of see they kind of go away. Hone will bring back maybe a little bit of it, but not enough. This is rather excessive. If you do hone a cylinder, guys, make sure you get the Nicocel approved hones for your cylinders, because that's a very hard coating. Another thing is you want to watch for piston ridge. You can see it right there, right where that line is, and up here. So piston ridges happen from your compression ring of your piston at the top of the travel, and sometimes even on the bottom of the travel, because you got your compression ring and you got your oil control rings in here. So oil will retain inside of here to lube the piston and the cylinder. The job of the cross hatches, you notice how there's steeper or they're more shallow depending on what engine you have. That actually controls how much oil it gets shedded off of these. So if it's a steeper, oil will wipe or shed faster than if the pitch is less. It will hold oil on the cylinders more. So that's why it's so important to watch cross hatches. So something like that, kind of questionable. I think I'll have Joe take a look at that, have him give me his opinion on that. Okay, so now we're at the shop. I brought Joe all these parts. What do you think about them?
Well, these cams can definitely be saved. This isn't so bad. The cap's got, some lines on it like you were showing before, but all that can be pretty much massaged out. It's not going to be perfect, but I definitely think it's going to be fine. It's going to be usable. I've had them worse, and the bikes run fine.
And you're able to save that camshaft?
Yeah, able to save the camshaft. It's
nice.
Still going to have some lines in it, some faint lines in there. You won't be able to get rid of them totally without creating more clearance there. But you do want to have some pressure still left in there to create, proper oiling so that oiling doesn't push out. But I definitely think it's something that we can totally save, and he'll be fine.
Okay, what do you think about that cylinder?
The cylinder, I could feel the lines on the ridges on, from it being worn. If it was me, I would replace that cylinder. I've seen too many cylinders where they weren't as bad, like this, but when the cross hatches start to become not very visible at all, what happens is the bike will always poof a little bit of smoke on hard acceleration, especially when you're freewheeling the bike, revving it up a little bit or whatever, and they'll always have that little bit of a puff to them, and they won't completely seal, like a new cylinder would.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
And judging based off what you see here, you're thinking that bottom end might not be very happy either.
Yeah, with a high hourd engine, the big end of the bearings on those on the 250Fs, it'll definitely break down. Not probably within the first 30 minutes of riding, it'll just start breaking down. I've seen them break down super fast to where the thrust bearings just totally get wasted and they actually just seize up. And
okay.
Engine's full of brass from the thrust bearings.
Got that new power punching on that crank.
Yep, you've got like I said, you got a new framing on an old foundation, and that old foundation can't handle it, So once you create that seal back into that cylinder again and stuff, it's really hard on that bearing. So the crank bearing's not so much, it's the bottom end of that rod bearing. It just cannot handle that pressure. And it may feel fine, it might not be any up and down play in it, but what happens is it has that pressure built back up on there again, and the bearing breaks down like super fast. So,
Okay, cool. Then yeah, we'll recap once you get this all cleaned up, put back together.
yeah.
Cool.
Sounds
Thanks,
great.
Joe.
You bet.
All right, guys, and that's what a brand new cylinder looks like with the cross hatches. That's what you want to see. Don't mind those little lines. Those are just for me putting in the Pro X piston to make sure it all fit good, but that's what you want to see.
All right, so we got our parts back from Joe, and dude, they look great. I'm surprised. He was able to machine those out really well. Clean these guys up a bit, as well as on the head. Shoot, those look great. Okay, and lastly, these are what worn out intake valves look like. So the reason why your valve gap gets smaller and smaller is because on these race bikes, they have titanium valves, and they'll start causing that groove in there, and that's what causes it to rise up. That's also why a lot of guys say once these things need a valve adjustment, it's due for top end, because once that hard coating rubs away, it starts beating on the titanium, and it just goes and goes and goes. So those are some things to look for, guys, when you tear apart your engine.